We spoke to a large number of people, of central political characters, and that in itself was interesting because most people said, I will only talk to you if it's off the record. Whereas those same people you would ask about what? About Zuma or about Mbeki, and they would talk to you. But the minute you said it was Malema, they want to talk privately. So their views are reflected, but they wouldn't want to go on record. Why? Because the guy's a bully. He's not scared of standing on a public platform and calling you names. And I think that's it comes out in the book. He's become a bully. He's a young guy, he's 28, not educated, and yet his crude, aggressive manner has earned him a place in our political scene because people are just scared of him. He'll call you a racist, he'll call you a coward. If you're ANC, he'll call you a coward or a sellout. If you any kind of bit paler than he is, he'll just call you a racist. And people kind of don't want to be called that in public. So they let him get away with stuff. And the more he gets away with stuff, the worse he gets. Yeah, I mean, that is the whole question. Is he an unguided missile? Is he really stupid? Or is he a pawn? Or is he a sinister force? I don't think he's a sinister force. I think some people thought that he would be a puppet and they would be the puppet masters. I think he's cut the strings. I think the puppet has become a puppet master himself. Because even some of those who really did control him, he's controlling them now through bullying and fear. But it's pretty clear that he was used by ANC figures during the election period especially. To say the kind of things that they were too polite to say, but the audience wanted to hear, the constituency wanted to hear. They used him especially, and that was the theory, and I think it turns out that the theory was more or less correct, that the disaffected youth needed someone who would just go out there and insult everybody and be defiant, especially against rich people and white people, and because that's the anger they feel. And we shouldn't forget that there were 3 million new voters in the election in April. And most of them, by definition, had to be young, and most of them, by definition, had to be black. And again, by definition, most of them would be unemployed and in the townships. So you're talking about 1.5 million perhaps, or more, very angry young black people, can't get jobs, can't read and write properly, bad education, living in squalor. And here's this guy, just older than them, and he's expressing their worst fears, and he's living their dream, because designer clothes, expensive whiskey, fancy cars, that's what they want. That's what they want. A lot of white people say, well, certainly, the black youth will say, we can't go with this guy, look at how he's wasting money. The psychology works the other way around. It's aspirational. They say, well, one of us, look at one of us. He comes from a very poor background. He comes from a township, a rural township, a single mother. A lot of young people can identify with that. And there he is. He's on the front pages of the newspapers virtually every week. So I think he claims to have contributed a large chunk of the ANC's support in the last election. I think quite rightly so. I said earlier he's not a rocket scientist, but he's streetwise. He is streetwise. He's like Thabo Mbeki wasn't. Thabo Mbeki was an intellectual. He was a very clever man, but he wasn't streetwise. He wasn't a tactician. And look at him. Malema is like P.W. Botha. Kind of fairly stupid, but streetwise. Strategically very good, and he knows his constituency. So we can't wish the guy away. It depends on how we react to him as a people, as a nation, whether he will threaten or contribute to his presence will threaten or contribute to democracy. The fact that he comes with unpleasant and unpopular things onto the public stage could be a good thing. For instance, he came and he insulted minority groupings, meaning coloureds and Indians, Because why are they dominating the economic cluster in the cabinet? You know, we don't want coloureds and Indians there, we want Africans there. Which is a really crude, horrible thing to say. And suddenly people started talking about it, which is not a bad thing. It is one of the taboos, and yet we talked about it. So yeah, there's potentially he could contribute. He himself is no Democrat. That is clear through his expressions. He believes in majority rule. And there's a difference. There's a huge difference between democracy and majority rule. He is one for, we got 51 plus, so you shut up and listen. In that sense, he's bad for democracy. I think he's also bad for democracy in the sense that some of the things that we need to talk about, race, class, are sensitive things. He starts talking about it by using insults. You know, the bloody whites, we are the bloody whites. And then people who follow him do that in the same kind of language. We cannot have a discussion about race and ethnicity in this country using ugly language, aggressive language. It is sensitive. So he sets the tone for a very low level of debate, and in that sense he's a real threat to democracy. Yes, to both. He should be ignored, but sometimes he should be given a bit of a, I mean, he's there, he can't be wished away. I do have a feeling that, especially younger journalists, that there's a cheap trick. If you want to go on the front page, go to Julius Malema and get him to insult someone, and you can put him in the front page. I think he's had a raw deal with some of these things. He tells the story in this book where he went to Tokyo Sexwale, because I think Tokyo had criticized him for saying something. And he said, Tokyo, Comrade Tokyo, one day I will ask you, you write me a speech, the kind of speech that you would have given, and I will read that speech in public. He says, and I guarantee you the next day you will be ashamed of your own words, because that's the way it will be portrayed in public. I think there's a little bit of truth in that we expect him to be this rude, nasty man, and then we love to put him on the front page. I think we should be more considered when we give him publicity. And 6 times out of 10, he shouldn't have been on the front page. No, I think what we see now is the truth of the Youth League gunning for power. They have identified the top 6 positions in the ANC, and they want to dominate. They want Fikile Mbalula, their previous Youth League leader, to be the Secretary General, and they want to dominate, you know, in those important positions. And Julius Malema is their champion, yet he would be too young. In 2012, when the conference is where they elect these people, he will only be 31. He can't be the Secretary General. But what I've picked up is that definitely the people are saying, well, if he is in the top 6 in 2012, that makes him the ideal guy to go for the presidency of the party after that, when he would be in his 40s. So there is an ambition. He now believes it himself, that if you criticize him, you're either a reactionary or you're a racist. And that makes him a bit dangerous, I would say. He has people blindly following him, but he has other people who say, I'm going to be on his coattails. He's not very clever. He needs my money. I'll finance him, or I'll help him, and I'll get to power on his coattails. So in that sense, we've got to watch the guy. He's not altogether not a nice man. I mean, the message of the book is, be aware of this guy. This could mean trouble.